Welcome to Wisco Dice! Hey, yo, folks, I'm your host, the Conesy with the Most, and I am joined today by...
Hey, I'm Suzanne, and today we have two special guests with us. We have Alphinius and camera Mandi. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Yes, welcome.
Hello. It is great to be here with you two. This is marvelous. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Are we going to play any games or just talk?
Probably just talking.
Okay.
But perhaps that talking will be a game. I'm not sure yet. That is a tale, I believe. What are the words? It is yet in the telling.
Yet in the telling, yes, sir. Famed by J.R.R. Tolkien, by the way. That was I stole that from him a long time ago. So, anyway, that's me. I'm Alphinius, but camera Mandi's here too.
Yes, we are Alphinius Goo and camera Mandi from Gooey Cube. We make TTRPG products mostly for 5th edition, but we're expanding into OSE, and we are all about great role-playing and good story.
Absolutely delighted to have discovered Gooey Cube many years ago at Gen Con, like so many people have. But it's also kind of crazy to me how many people that I have in my RPG groups or that I meet and I tell them about the games that I'm running, which are all in the world of Zyathe, the world that Gooey Cube has created, and they haven't heard about you. So it's absolutely a pleasure to have you on the show today and to be able to help maybe spread the word just a little bit more about Gooey Cube and why we love it. So with that, what is Gooey Cube? Why did you do this thing?
So this was a wild hair that happened to us in 2018. Okay, and I blame camera Mandi for this. It's all her fault. All right, so we started down this.
It's an audio podcast, so they can't see the indignation on my face right now. I have no idea how I'm to blame for this.
So listen, at the time, I talked to someone who said something to the effect of, you go into the game business with $1 million, right? And if you want to, the fastest way to get to $1 million in the game business, right, is to start the game business with $1 million, because after that it's going to go backwards, right? So it's not my day job is a marketing thing, but this has been difficult. We had to go through COVID and all that kind of stuff. But on the other side of the coin, I got to tell you that even though we have yet to make a dime, we have had so much fun making all of these materials and doing the things that we're doing and building this amazing community. And Ben, you know better than most, Zyathe isn't really our world. Camera Mandi's and mine and a few Gooey people's world, because literally we've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in our community contribute to the world. And so it really is quite unusual in the TTRPG space, because it really is a community thing that's being built by all these Gooey people. And it's camera Mandi's fault because she didn't say no. She should have said no.
Listen,
Would he have listened?
No. Okay, so Alphinius is not giving himself enough credit because it is his fault. But also, he's been a veteran game master for decades at this point. He started when he was very young. He's very talented. He's a great writer, and he had a lot of stories to tell. And instead of doing it in a simple way, like writing a book and getting that published, he decided to throw in all the handouts, all the portraits, and everything you need to just run an amazing game, because he wants his stories to be immersive and special.
And those handouts just make this game outstanding. This is my first RPG I have played in, is one that Conesy is running. And I don't want to give away any spoilers for people who have not played it, but the pictures, while the DM's describing it, to actually then see it, it's like, it's given us the chills. All the players at the table. It makes it so immersive.
There was a
little
moment
creeped out a couple times with just what we see.
There was a moment in our session Saturday. By the way, we're running through the Red Star Rising campaigns. I'm running it. I got 2 different groups that I'm running that on. So we're at chapter 2 at the. I know I'm not trying to give too much away, but there's
just give it away. What the heck?
There's a farm, and the farm is a bit interesting. Let's just say
It's
that.
the
And there's a
butcher.
shed in the barn,
butcher
and there's a
place.
particular graphic that is everyone at the table, as second they saw that and they heard me read the description for that room, I could see the horror come over their eyes. Like, wait a minute, we just maybe hit something we should have told you wasn't okay in session 0. but it was such a, like, because it's such a, like, oh, hey, it painted a picture for them that this is a clear bad guy that they had to deal with. Set the picture for the room. I mean, Suzanne, you were there, you experienced it.
Well, until that picture, I was kind of like, well, maybe we're not at the right place. Maybe we need to be nice to these people and stuff. And then it was just almost like out of a horror movie, but on paper. So
and I love that. I love that.
Oh,
I'm sorry that we helped your players discover a trigger they didn't know that they had. My deepest apologies. We do live in a grim, dark world, but I can tell you that hearing you talk about the visceral reaction to our materials delights us. And
yeah,
it's the exact. I think it's exactly the intention, right? That you're going for, and that's exciting. It's exciting because it's this dark. Like my favorite campaign setting in Dungeons and Dragons has always been Ravenloft. Believe it or not, I've never actually ran anything in Ravenloft. When I experienced Dark Tides Night, which is a free download, so if you're out there and you want to check out Gooey Cube, you can go to gooeycube.com, by the way, and go download Dark Tides Night right now and read and get a feel and see what the materials look like that they produce, get a feel for the kind of content that they're doing. It is like this dark universe that is also, there's lots of bright light modes. There's lots of great comedy moments too throughout. I mean, the introduction to Red Star Rising with I'm doing all the work. I'm doing all the sales pitching for you.
You're a great commercial. Great commercial.
It comes from you than when it comes from us.
It's absolutely delightful. At the same time, sometimes very creepy.
Yeah, so when we started this thing in 2000, it was really end of 2017, and we started talking about doing this game company, and I did have a particular belief set, and I had a belief set that in the pursuit of profit, and again, I don't want to throw down too hard on game companies because, listen, we're all trying to make money and make a living, right? We're all trying to be able to feed our families and do all of this kind of stuff. This is what we try to do when we start these little businesses and all of that kind of thing. But I do think some of the larger organizations in the pursuit of profit removed some things from the tales that I do think have diminished them somewhat. And what I mean by that is, if you think about it, now I'm looking at all three of you, and you're younger than I am, but by fairly substantial amount, I'm fairly certain. But in my day, we get these amazing modules that had all of these artworks by all of these very interesting artists, and most of them were ink drawings and they were line drawings. But you'd show them right to the table, and people would get all excited, right, when they're seeing them, right. And so in 2017. I asked, there was a number of us there that were brainstorming this thing. And I said, okay, we're going to reinvent the adventure module. And I had a few books from various organizations, perfect bound books, because that's kind of what adventure modules kind of evolved to, single magazette kind of formats that are saddle stitched. I put those out in front of people. I said, let's reimagine this. What could it be? And I showed some people some of the original old school materials. Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, the Tomb of Horrors. And I said, what if we brought this idea forward and did it like it should be done in the new century? And that was the genesis of the creation of all of the handouts, all of the NPC portraits, including magic item cards, special item cards, which obviously are available. It's most of this stuff we didn't invent at all. We just, I think, put it together into a wondrous package. And then we said, how can we do this and not have it just be outrageously expensive? Not be, $500 for, the Red Star Rising box, which I think Ben is about $70. and it's this thick, and it has 60, 70 full color handouts. I don't know.
Podcast audience who's not seeing this on video.
Oh yeah, it's
2 inches thick. So
excellent job, Camera Mandi. Yes, about 2 inches thick in a box, right? So that was how it all started. And the next thing you know, we were at Gen Con on Entrepreneurs Row, and people started coming up and asking us, and we started making friends, and that's how it all began.
We're excited to be a part of that journey now, having the opportunity to GM for you at Gen Con this past year, and at upcoming conventions I will be back. And I am looking forward to that being that opportunity to bring the world to more people. I mean, the excitement and the glee and curiosity that I experienced just this past year, introducing so many new players to the world of Zyathe, to the products, watching people be very excited and run from the table on Sunday, from the table to get into the vendor hall, to before the vendor hall closed in like the hour from when our game finished and when the hall was supposed to close, to try to get to the booth to buy products, to find out more, was exciting. And there's a reason why I think we're all passionate about it, right? So one of the things that I recently received is the Darkenhaven box set. And that is a level of, I'm just going to say, insanity in product creation that I have never seen from another company. And when I say insanity, I mean, what was it, 11 pounds of box set for one single city, one single location? I mean, I remember getting like the City of Splendors Waterdeep box set way back in the day, and being like, that was the standard for if you wanted to do a city box set. This dwarfed it by far. What was that experience like, putting that together? What drove you to making that kind of a box set for just one city within this entire world?
So can I start, Mandi, and then I'm gonna hand it back to you. I want to start.
Yeah. You are the writer and the architect of this thing.
So long ago, my hero, absolutely my hero, is Ed Greenwood. Waterdeep in the North came out, I think, in 1980 something, and it changed our table forever. And the city that came out of that, this Waterdeep, was so marvelous and had so many things. And over time, though, with respect to Ed, right, I think, which happens at many tables, it was no longer Ed's Waterdeep, it was my Waterdeep. And it was my table's Waterdeep. It was my people, the people I'm playing with Waterdeep. And we began to change things and adjust things and move things around. And I began to mess around with all of these different things. And that was the genesis of Darkenhaven. And Darkenhaven has wonderful lore. And Ben, I don't know how much you've been able to read yet. We did our best to really make it entertaining and interesting for the game master. But it's also just rife for a wonderful, wonderful campaign. You never would have to leave the city at all. But yes, it is about 4 inches thick. It does have 6 poster maps that are illustrated by Marvelous Edvard, who is a fantastic cartographer. It has 3 books, which actually are 4 books, because book 2 is actually 2 books. Right? There's book 1, then there's book 2, part 1, book 2, part 2, and book 3. And we've got the lore, and we've got all the locations, and then we've got all the people and the rumors and the creepy things and encounters and all of that kind of stuff. And then you've got, I don't know, 80 handouts and many NPC portraits. And there's even a gazetteer, right, that you can give to your players, which is sort of a visitor's guide to the city. So I think it's one of the best fantasy TTRPG cities ever made. I think when it's paired with the Gloomport, it's going to be very, very striking for people to enjoy. So that's what I think. I wish I could show it to your audience. I wish they could see it on the podcast, but they'll have to watch one of Camera Mandi's videos.
If they go to gooeycube.com and look up Darkenhaven, I have a video there that kind of talks about what it is. It's from the creators, all the writers. So Alphinius was the architect, Carrie, Jens, Pam, Casey, and AJ are the main writers. And then again, our world is collaborative. So those are the main writers, but then we have loads of locations and sections of the book that were written by the Gooey Cube community. And it really helps to make the entire city feel diverse and interesting. And it has so many different ideas in it. And I think it's spectacular to kind of zero in on one place versus, we have a whole book dedicated to like West Verdestia and East Verdestia, but to have a whole box set of everything you need for a giant city is a real tool for certain game masters. It may not be for everyone, but it's certainly spectacular.
I think it's spectacular from the game master side of the perspective, to whether you're using this product in your own games or you're just using it to understand how a large fantasy magical city could be put together, and being able to use that to expand your own creations. I mean, certainly from a game master perspective, and I think anyone that's in that chair, please don't think you need to create your fantasy cities to this level of detail, because you'll never ever get your game off the ground. The inspiration, at the very least, that you can draw off it, it's amazing. And it's only half of it, right? It's only half. Like, Darkenhaven's the city above ground. There's mystery below in the port.
Oh, the Gloom port. And Suzanne, have you seen any of this yet? Has he shown you?
She saw the box for Darkenhaven, I think.
I tried to pick up the box. That's about all I've done.
Paper's heavy. Surprisingly so.
It was on the front porch, and I'm trying to roll it into the house, so I couldn't get my hands under it. That heavy and compact.
So they do say we can work out with it. So if it doesn't work out for you as a supplement, it can work out for you as a arm strengthening tool.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly. Need some bigger weights there.
There's actually, though, kind of a trifecta of. So the Gloomport is coming out here, hopefully in the next couple months. So that's below. And then there's also a place called the Mornwood, which is right across the river from Darkenhaven. And that's already a fleshed out area with like kind of a cool warped forest feel. And so with those three things, you could run such an elaborate campaign with loads of handouts. It's a giant sandbox, so you can use a story. We do have like stories written for like the Mornwood, and Darkenhaven comes with like a little mini adventure. But if you're more of a sandboxy GM who wants to just go with a location, like those three together would make an amazing place for your players to go. It would just be some prep time, I would say, with all the materials that we have. So
always prep time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of your prep time is reading.
Well, that's the goal. So this is a very interesting thing. And I don't know how much you know about this, but in the research we were doing, when we were looking at game modules, I already kind of knew this because I was that guy. I am that guy. That many, many people buy these materials for reading entertainment and many times do not play the adventures that they have purchased. They only play a fraction of the adventures they have purchased. I certainly have done that through the course of my life, and I have many of them on my shelf that I've only read, never played. But it feeds the imagination, right? It feeds the creativity. And I would say that for many years, sitting on my bedside still, even to this day, you can often find an adventure module written by someone that I happen to be reading just for fun.
Conesy's reading, like books that he reads lately have been. So
yeah. Well, I'm running potentially a third adventure soon, or a third campaign soon in the world of Zyathe. It requires a little bit of background reading.
I mean, I would say people can take as much or as little as they want from our materials. So if you want more of just like an overview, I think things are set out really easily for game masters to find. I mean, this is with any of the materials. You could buy our Chapter 1 Red Star Rising campaign box and do an entirely different story, but everything is set in Carnival. So you have all of the artwork, you have all of the NPC portraits, and you have maps, and you could literally just take that and put your own story in Carnival. And the quality of just the art and the portraits and all the stuff that we do it's still a great deal for $70 because you can't print the material that we have for less, like at a Kinko's or on your home printer. You know, everything's amazing quality.
Well, and Carnival, you know, and what we are doing, something that Ben, that you're kind of familiar with because you're in chapter 2 right now. So the Red Star Rising was really originally designed to have 7 chapters. And COVID kind of blew us up, and we had to do a bunch of. I mean, it was very a lot of dipping, dodging, whatever that thing was from Dodgeball. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, that thing right there, the coldest of blood. That is a tale right there. I'm not going to speak of that because you have a player sitting right here with us. But
it's quite all right. But yes, it is. Chapter 3 is. I'm ready for that to drop.
Yeah, you know. So we really believe now that chapters 1, 2, and 3 could make a wonderful origin story for characters, and then you don't even have to go to chapters 4 and 5 if you didn't want to. And we also believe chapters 4 and 5, because of the way they're structured with the haunted house and other things like that are going on, that could also sit as 2 sort of mid-adventures that you might bring in terms of their. So we're looking at how, because it's a big bite to take on the entire Red Star Rising. It's a big bite. And so there's some discussion over how we make that more digestible. So in chapter 6, you get to go back to Nevermore. You know about that, Suzanne? You've been to Nevermore, right on the edge, right? Now you get to go back in chapter 6.
Well, that'll be fun because I've got all my little lists of all the different, you know, the people that we've come in contact with and all the things I'm convinced are clues to how people are how they interact and interrelated.
I am pleasantly surprised to see how well she has not only embraced the game, but she has started to put little clues together in all of these little things and images that she puts together. Oh, is this related to this? And is this related to that? Like, she is going to be at the end of the campaign being the person that's going to go, oh, but what if we would have went down that path? What was this? So I'm very hopeful that many of those answers will be solved when I get to see chapter 6 and 7. I'm also very excited to go through it. And I'm going to say, as from the GM side, when you run a campaign that is a full set of arcs, which is it's where you're expecting it to take a year or 2 years. My groups typically get together once or twice a month, so it's like going through something like this is a multiple year affair, and that's a challenge for all of us as adults. This isn't any different other than the speed of character advancement, which is definitely something I think is unique to Red Star Rising. You slow that down, and you have to prep your players for that. And you could adjust it, but if you run it kind of as it's written, it's a slow character advancement, and that's important, I think, to what the story you're telling, and not to get to the point of superpowers, because superpowered PCs, because then you get when the answer is I fireball the room and I don't care, then that's
yes. So I philosophically I remember the days when I was young, and in those days you getting from first level, from 0 level to first level, was pretty fast, and then first to second level was kind of fast, and then it really began to slow down if you were playing it straight with the way they did advancement. And we got excited to actually get levels. I mean, it was an event. It was like, whoa, I got a level, right? Versus what I perceive now as sort of this super rapid advancement, and you go so quickly from level 1 to level 10, level 12, level 14, and it really is fast progression. So this was the idea behind it, was to slow progression and make levels more special. And I do think it, in my heart of hearts, I actually believe that the game is the most fun in sort of those mid-range levels. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. You're powerful enough to be able to do things. 7th level, you're powerful enough to do things, but you're still vulnerable. And as it starts getting past 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th levels, and suddenly you're like Superman, right? Or Captain Marvel, or Rocket from the the raccoon guy, that guy, you're like that guy.
Right.
Guardians.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, yes, Rocket, you're like that guy. Anyway, so you end up being like these superheroes, and all of a sudden the challenge is really mitigated a lot, and it becomes very hard as a game master, having experienced that many times myself, to truly challenge really godlike players, and that can happen pretty rapidly. And so we thought, let's try this with Gooey Cube. Let's put out our premise. Let's tell everybody that we think slow leveling is not bad, and then let's give them GUI rewards. And so we put the GUI rewards in every package. So now you get to get GUI as you're progressing through. So sorry, Mandi, I know you were going to say something too.
No, I was going to say, as a player, so Alphinius generally GMs, I generally play. Not together because we kill each other, but at other tables. And I will say that at first, when I first saw the Gooey Cube stuff, I thought the leveling was too slow. But as I played more, I've honestly come to really respect the idea of slower leveling. I think that I agree that you kind of start taking it for granted if you start leveling so fast. And I'm someone who does struggle a bit with character leveling and character creation and stuff like that. It doesn't come very naturally to me, rolling up new characters. And so I'm not a min-maxer, I guess would be a good way to play it. And I think Gooey Cube is great for that in terms of we really want to focus in on role play and on story. And then, the leveling and, the challenge kind of comes, it's just another aspect of it. But really, learning to play your character, learning all those like foundational stuff, learning what you're actually having time to really use all the skills that you have before you level up to the next level, I think is a strong thing. Now, we do have stuff, though, for those higher levels, because we don't just have the Red Star Rising campaign. We have other adventures like the Dungeon of Dunix, which is a level 8 to 10. We have the Shadows and Genzicon series, which is like levels 6 through 10, I believe. And so we do have other offerings for people who want to play at a higher level. And those are actually quite challenging because Alphinius' philosophy is very similar to a certain Guy Gax, I think.
No, because here's what we do, right? In the battle stats, every encounter, you have the option as the game master. Because our goal is to empower game masters. I want to give them as much as we can give them. And so every battle stat has 4 little things at the bottom. Weaker party. Here's how you adjust this combat for a weaker party. Advanced party. Here's how you make this encounter a little more difficult. Make it tough. That's the next level above make it difficult, right? And then make it tougher, which can be really tough. But then we've even added another section which is called at higher levels. And so we've really enabled these adventures to be played without too much more effort on the game master's part, to be played at higher levels than they are actually designed for, which we think gives more flexibility to the game master and gives more fun to the table if they want to play the Red Star Rising and they actually want to play it starting at 3rd level instead of starting at 1st. So these are new innovations that we've been bringing and things like that to try to make the adventures more malleable for tables.
Well, speaking about this Gygax guy, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of. I think it was Gary. I don't know, but there was a little thing that happened last year with Dungeons and Dragons, an anniversary, I think, and there was a certain project that we got to support and back through crowdfunding that you guys kicked off. What can you tell us about the Gygax project? Where is that going? How is that going?
So, as you know, both of you know, it was very successful. I think in the end, it was something like $700,000 or $800,000 in terms of total sales, and we had thousands of backers, and we created this thing called the Tomb of Gygax. And we did it with Luke, who has been a pleasure to work with. And we created a whole area in the world of Zyathe, which kind of was already there, because the story is that I had met Luke a couple times at GaryCon, because we'd gone to GaryCon. And then I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I was talking with him one day and I said, I got this place. And he goes, what place? I go, it's in East Verdestia. It's right on the edge here. And I showed him this map and it says Geisengax. And he says, what's that? I said, well, that's for your dad. Because, and they're all over the place. There's odes to Margaret Weiss and odes to so many legends of the game. They're all over the place. We got Easter eggs everywhere. Anyway, so I said that I talked to him about that, and I said, I would love to. I'd love to do something with this someday. And he says, what do you have in mind? And I started throwing out what I had in mind, and he thought, okay, well, let's give it a go, and that's sort of how the whole thing began. And the next thing you know, we had created what I think is a magnificent, lampoony, fun, and really scary, hard, aggressive adventure to find out what has happened to Gerald Geisengax, the famous wizard. And that's the story. So, yeah, it was pretty fun. Yes, Camera Mandi, it was good. Yes, it was fun to put it all together.
Yeah, I had a great time. I haven't read all of the story yet. I've only read or heard Alphinius. This is what Alphinius will do. I'll give you a little insight. So he'll get a new art and he'll call you into his office to show you the new art. And here's the true secret. The art is not for anyone else except for Alphinius Goo, which is why we have so much of it. So he is making art for himself just as much as he is for anyone out there. And then also when he writes something he's really proud of, he'll call you into the office and have you sit there while he reads it to you. And so I know that the story is going to be phenomenal because I've heard it read by Alphinius, and I'm really excited to see what everybody else thinks of it.
Really excited to see it too, so I'm looking very much forward to having that be very likely my next major campaign or my next arc that these players from Red Star will maybe mosey on into. So keep them going.
And there'll be the Tomb of Geisengax, which is the adventure. And then there's also the environs of Geisengax, which is the surrounding sandbox area. So you can play the adventure. And then if your players aren't quite done yet, you could make your own adventures. There's going to be loads of NPCs. And the environs are contributed not only by our community, but also Ed Greenwood, it just blows my mind, is writing for us. So I literally get emails in my inbox from Ed Greenwood writing, bits and pieces of the environs, and it just stuns me that we're getting to work with such a talented person and many talented people, because we've been very fortunate to make a lot of friends in this space.
Yeah, well, Luke and I probably spent 15 hours together brainstorming the Tomb of Geisengax. What happened? I mean, it's a great mystery, and it's a great tale. There's all kinds of underpinnings and political intrigues. It leads off into a branch which is called the Crovenloft Saga, and the Crovenloft Saga is about some vampires, and all of these things are nodding, to things of the old, right, in the past. There's even a demon head maw that the players have to walk into to get to certain location, which might give some of them a little bit of pause, right? Because it nods to one of Gary's early on adventures. And so there's lots of these little Easter eggs and these little interesting things that I'm hoping lots of people will enjoy, especially those who, had the pleasure of playing this game in the 80s or 70s, even 70s, 80s, 90s, and even into the turn of the century. So really, I think it's magnificent.
I'm looking forward to this really combining the humor, because what did you make, the Argyle Goyles?
The Argyles.
Argyles. Yeah. They're like gargoyles, and they have like Argyle on their sleeves. That is some kooky thing from Geisengax, or Gerald. So I'm looking forward to kind of the grim part.
There's Hawaiian shirts in there. There's actually a magic item called the Cloak of Outrageous Color or something like that, and you find shirts with pineapples and other things that we call them piney apples in the world of Zyathe.
Nice.
So, there's lots of that kind of stuff that Luke and I and others brainstormed really hard on to try to make it. For those who have history to really enjoy it, and even those who don't will still laugh and have fun, I think.
Well, I mean, it's good to, personally at my table, it is fun to have those serious moments, but at the end of the day, we're there to be with each other and to spend time together and to have great memories made. So having a good laugh whilst you're in the midst of a dungeon is always a good time.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. Suzanne, you and one of our characters in our party that you're going through have an absolute hilarious time making comedic stuff all the time. Your character Akra, this little 14-year-old,
she's
too
13.
much energy.
She's barely a teenager.
And
Sorry.
then
It's funny to play with that. I understand that. I've been in that phase of my life.
we're reliving it at the game table every time Suzanne plays, let me tell you. And then Topper putting his signs around the carnival warning guests of where there's potential danger.
Yep. And Akra and Topper keep trying to find windows that they can jump out of with the parachute pants that we found. And, why not? Who cares if there's something horrible happening in the building? You got to have some fun, too.
Well, I think that it's sort of a mix, right? When you're playing, right? I think a lot of people do want to feel like they're in this adventure, right? And that it's challenging and sometimes scary, and that, obviously you fear that your character could die, all of that kind of thing that goes on. But I think also, the idea behind it is this it is, as Mandi said, it's us getting together as our friends and enjoying each other's company and sharing meals and telling jokes. And even, I still remember your dad. Can I use a minor curse word on your podcast, or is that against the rules?
It'll be fine.
Okay, so one night, your dad has played with me for many years, Mandi. Since we were young.
Your dad is referring to my father because Alphinius is my godfather in real life.
Yes. So your dad obviously played with me for many years, and your dad loved combat more than anything else. That was his favorite thing. But as we progressed, he became more and more of a role player, to the point where now I truly believe he likes role playing more than he likes combat, even though he loved combat the most. But there was many times where your father would get quite emotional, because your dad is an emotional guy, yes? And I still remember the one night, and all of my friends and his friends remember this night, because he looked at me and looked like he was going to punch me in the nose. And then he took his dice and he threw them in my chest. And he said, "You're an asshole, dude. You're an asshole." And I thought, I got it. This was a perfect night because he was there, right? He was right in the midst of this, the terrible things that were happening. He was right there. And now we have a moment that we laugh about forever, right? Because of this wonderful time that happened and how it was so intense and difficult. But that's also part of the tale, right?
My dad is the kind of person who makes us put $1 in a cuss jar.
He does.
Just to give you some context there.
Well, if I want to say, and it's been an absolute pleasure, but as all good things, they must come to an end. But if you have enjoyed listening to Alphinius and Camera Mandi here talk to us about the world of Zyathe and Gooey Cube, I'd ask you all to join them Saturday mornings over on Twitch or Itch or whatever that platform is that we're not on, to check out this little show that they've been doing forever. And maybe you'll see some silly string, or maybe you'll find out some new stuff about lore. That is Goo Morning Zyathe. And of course, if you are like me and need to have a reference to where all of this goodness is, or how you can find out how to get more information, more product, or actually if you want to go buy products, whatever the case might is, go get that Dark Tides Night I mentioned earlier. All the links will be in the show notes. You can find them right over at whiskodice.com, or you can head over to gooeycube.com and find out more. Of course, we've just touched on it. And if you'd like to hear more about this kind of stuff, or find out more, or let us know from Wisco Dice side that you've enjoyed this kind of stuff and you want to hear more about Zyathe and all of their crazy things, or how maybe you can run adventures better, let us know on our social media, whether that's Facebook or where else are we at, Suzanne? I don't even remember where all we're at.
Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Discord, and WhiscoDice.com. I think that's it.
I think so. There might be more. I don't know.
If you find
Anyways,
else, let me know.
anyways, as always, thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate it so much. Until next time, peace out.